Hey YouTube, it's me again. I'm designing another quadcopter frame, this time a 5-inch. And I'm probably a little premature here because I haven't even started having my 3-inch Kestrel manufactured yet. But figured I'd start at least planning. And I got a little farther along than I thought. I could probably almost start cutting. It's not quite where I want it to be yet, but that's okay. I've got my coffee. This is a delicious Ethiopian bean that I roasted a few days ago. I'm going to tell you if it's delicious. Yeah, that's a pretty good latte. That's not bad. But, yeah, so this is my 4-inch Kestrel. I've got 3-inch props on it to test out right now, but I'm excited about this. This is a somewhat... I don't know if it's a unique design because I'm borrowing the grommets from the Acrobrat, but it's at least unique in that it's like an Acrobrat, but it's lighter, it has replaceable arms, it's open source, and it's very easy. I'll show you today how you modify the arms in different configurations. You can just punch in, there's an angle, you set this angle here, and you set the length from this point here out to the motor. And you can put whatever size props on here you want. You can, if you want a very H frame, you can make an H frame. If you wanted a stretch X and you can see the props up here in your camera, you could do that. But that's not what we're trying to do with this. The Kestrel's supposed to be an HD micro frame with no props in view. And with the 4-inch props, there's a tiny bit of prop in view until you do your lens correction. But I'm not too unhappy about that. But this is an interesting design. It's not the style of frame I would usually fly, though. I fly the Hyperlight Flow Ride. We ended up focusing on Bob Rugi's frames, Kebab FPV. He makes fantastic frames for a good price. I remember at the time that I was finally going to move away from a racing style frame to a freestyle frame, I was looking at either the Hyperlight Flow Ride that just came, well, I guess it didn't just come out, but I was looking at either Hyperlight Flow Ride, these are about $45 for a frame, or the Armatan Chameleon, and they're, I don't know, what are they, $110, $120 a frame? And that was interesting because, you know, the Chameleon has a lifetime warranty, so if you smash something, you get a new one, right? But that seemed dumb to me. I'd rather pay $45 for a frame, buy some extra arms. I think the 2 packs of arms for this guy were about 10 or 12 bucks, so I just bought some extra arms, and I've just about gone through all the arms I bought the day that I bought my first frame. But I've got 3 of these. And I like this layout. There's a space up in front of there's a 30 by 30 stack in the middle. There's space up in front. Not quite a 20 by 20 stack, but I've got my VTX up there. And it's just big enough for a micro camera, like a Runcam Eagle Micro. And there's hardly any room in the back, but there's just enough room in the back for me to squeeze in my crossfire in the back. So I've got a crossfire in the back and my VTX up front. And kind of a unique thing about the Flow Ride is that it comes with a back plate here. I don't know how to get this into the camera very well, but the back plate sticks off just about an inch past the bottom plate, which gives you room to keep your battery up on there without it hanging out and flapping around in the breeze. And that doesn't add much weight, and I like that. After the Flow Ride, about a week after I bought my Flow Ride, oh, hey, Judy's not, there she goes. Less than a week after I bought my first Flow Ride, Kebab released the Floss Style. And I really like the Floss Style. It adds a 20 by 20. The front end is very much like the Flow Ride, and the back has a 20 by 20 stack. And I think the Floss Style is interesting because the top and the bottom plate are the same piece of hardware. They're interchangeable. So you can just buy spare plates and they work no matter which one you break, and I think that's pretty neat. Today he's got the Glide frame, which is a lot like the Floss Style, but it has a real 20 by 20 stack in the front, and it's probably a little bit nicer of a frame. And I would probably move up to the Glide today if I were buying a frame, and they're reasonably priced. I think the Floss Style was about $5 or $10 more than the Flow Ride, and the Glide is another $5 or $10. It's still inexpensive. And I have no idea that I would sell my own frame, but I'd like to fly my own frame. Wouldn't that be? Isn't that what I should be doing? So I started laying down parts in the CAD. I decided that the Kestrel and the Falcon, they're both open source. It's the Falcon. I didn't tell you that, did I, Judy? The new frame's going to be called the Falcon because a Kestrel is a tiny falcon, and this is bigger, so we'll just call it a Falcon. Seems smart to me, right? I started laying out parts. I figured I'd start with the arms. I'm using the same functions that generate arms in the Kestrel. There's only one tiny change. I just have an if in there. If it's a Falcon, don't make a cutout is pretty much the only difference between the arms. That and the length, of course, the length and width and stuff. But that's all parametric. You can punch all that into the source. But I was thinking, let's make a flow ride, but with a 20 by 20 stack, room for a 20 by 20 stack in the front, and we can control. Oh, geez, Judy's losing me. She's losing my face. Where am I? She found me. So instead of, we'll have room for the 20 by 20 stack in the front, the 30 by 30 or a 20 by 20 in the middle, and an optional stack in the back. So everything up to right here will always be the same on my frame, but depending on how you configure it, you can have a third stack in the back. You can have a truncated bottom plate and a fully truncated top plate, like one of the flow ride plates, or a slightly longer top plate, a less truncated top plate with room for another battery strap, so you can get two battery straps around your battery real good and still have the short frame. Because I think I like this layout with the VTX up front and the Crossfire in the back, and I could reverse that. I don't really care. Well, I can't reverse it if I stick with the flow ride style. But I'm going to turn my little Osmo Pocket off here. I'm going to switch to my webcam. Oh, and it looks so... you should see, the white balance is terrible over there. But I'm going to switch to OBS here, and I'm going to go over... I'll point out what I'm working on, and we'll see how I end up editing this. We're going to start with the arms, Judy. This was the original plan here. These are the Kestrel's arms, but made longer. If we go pop over to Emacs here, we have configuration for each Falcon frame will have its own configuration file, and it has, and I'm going to break some of this out. A lot of this, like the frame width and stuff here, this all belongs in a, this will be for all Falcons, so that'll be in another config file, and then other things will be, like this is a 6-inch Falcon I'm working on. 25.4 millimeters times 6 is a 6-inch propeller. But these are pretty much the Kestrel's arms, except I've made them 12 millimeters wide instead of 6 or 7 or whatever they are in the Kestrel. And yeah, this is pretty much what you get out if you put in slightly different numbers for the Kestrel. I don't think I can get away with using the wedge. And oh, for some reason my wedge is a millimeter too short. I must have a missing variable somewhere. I don't think I can get away with the wedge because you'll see it when the whole thing is assembled, but I don't think the frame would survive, where am I? Would survive one of these. It would flex quite a bit. But I'm leaving it alone. I put holes in the bottom plate to line up with right here and right here, the edges of this dog bone here, so I can put screws through there. It'll be fine. I don't think it needs to be an actual hole. I think it's a slot, so you won't have to take that screw out. You might have to loosen it to change an arm. Yeah, those are the arms. They're very simple. Nothing exciting to describe there. So let's pop over to the big Kestrel. This is a full-size Kestrel here. Kestrel. Falcon. This is a Falcon. I hope this mic is working here. So let's pop it upside down. I re-engineered the bottom plate. Does this work if I move my mouse around so you guys can see? These are the holes for the 20 by 20 on the inside, the 30 by 30, and these are the M3 holes for the mounts for the arm. And oh, shirt, I have to put holes in here to mount the arms. I goofed up. Make a note of that, Judy. So the idea here is these are at 45-degree angles. We'll cut this with the carbon right along the carbon, so they'll look like they're rotated on the sheet by about 45 degrees. And that should make this pretty rigid, because the bottom plate will be cut long ways instead of at a 45-degree angle. So it'll have strength front to back, and the bottom plate, the brace plate on the bottom, will be rigid diagonally. I think that'll work out. And I think these need to get a little bigger. There's little nubbins out here that hold the arm in place. We'll see about that. Now, I got the top and the bottom plate are identical. I might put a little piece of carbon to put underneath here to help protect the camera, but yeah, they're identical. The cutouts here in between the 20 by 20 stacks are all I made them a little bigger than the Kestrel, so they are just wide enough to fit a battery strap through. So a battery strap will go under the top plate, up through that hole, down through this hole, and back up and around, and cinch up at the top. I don't understand where the camera is. I'm having trouble there. So you'll definitely be able to get 2 battery straps around. We're going to see where the battery ends up lining up. I don't know. Maybe I should probably model a battery. Stick it right in here. I'm bummed out again. I'm borrowing from Kebab's frames again. This is the mounting pattern for the floss, the flow ride, the floss style, and the glide for the TPU GoPro mount. Not necessarily because I like that GoPro mount, but I have so many of them here. I print them all the time, and I have plenty of them, and I'll just swap them over. That seems good and lazy, right? I hope so. But this isn't the only layout. This is, these are the holes that I was talking about for the arms, so we can screw the arms in. But I should have one more Falcon window. Here he is. This is should look familiar. It's just truncated at the back, and there's no holes back here. I have to puzzle this out and figure out exactly where the battery strap holes will go back here. Because you should have, if you're flying freestyle and you have one of these long bodies, you should have 2 battery straps. That's just how it is. Just do it. But yeah, on the Kestrel, I should have had a window with the Kestrel. On the Kestrel, this 4 bolts for the arms works great. I mean, I can flex this. It does not flex in the middle too much. These are very thin arms long arms on the 4-inch, and I'm very happy with how this is holding up, and it doesn't vibrate. It's not bad. Don't think that'll work on the 5-inch. And this is a 6-inch. I fly a 6-inch quad with 5-inch props. I like a big quad. It's just very stable. And it gives me the option of throwing 6-inch props on if I need to fly long range or something. It's just fun to have. Where's Emacs here? Here's my friend Emacs. And, we were going to talk about arms. The arm length is from the screw hole here, the center of that screw hole, to the center of the motor. Not to the center of the frame. I'm not smart enough to set that up. So these arms are all 105 millimeters. I think it worked at 6 inches. I think this worked out to like 260 millimeters. I forget what I mathed it out. I don't remember. And they're right at 45-degree angles now. And I don't know if this is the way it's going to be in the final design. Let's, I can't see this because it's behind my camera. So the camera lens and sensor sit right real close to this these screw holes, and this puts the motors on 6 inches just in front of the camera, and that's about where it is on my other frames. And this is where it's uncreative, right? I'm laying things out like the frame that I enjoy flying, that I already have, and I think that's a good place to start, and we'll see where it goes. I have a feeling that when I cut these, none of this is going to look anything like this. I'm going to learn that this way out here, this looks like it's out in, out in the ocean, like the dock, just sticking out there. It's probably going to look silly, but I don't know. We'll find out. When I've cut the first Kestrel, this is tiny, I don't know why I'm showing you here, but the thickness of this top plate here, it's very thin now, but I said, like 6 millimeters will be fine. 5 or 6 millimeters or something. I cut it, and it was a tank. It was super sturdy, way bigger than it needed to be. It looked fine in the picture, but not in real life. So we'll see. But I'm going to go back, I guess, to talking on the Osmo Pocket here, where I might look a little less blue. Brian and I are talking about doing another quadcopter build class. We've done 3 of them at the local makerspace. The first time we built a 450 millimeter quadcopter, the same quadcopter that Brian is dropping fun things with this last week. We built my first 3-inch quad. About a half a dozen people built the PH-145. And then we did we did our best to put together a kit for a budget 5-inch racer, FPV racer. And it was all right. We did okay there. But I think things are a lot better now. I'd like to do a class where we build a Kestrel with the HD camera, something very much like this, but with the 3-inch arms instead of the 4-inch arms. And I like the price point that we can get this at, because we can build this with a turtle for about what it costs to build that 5-inch with the cheapest CMOS camera we could find at the time. So I'm pretty excited about that. So maybe we'll start having frames manufactured when we schedule that, and that'll be exciting. But if you like what I'm doing, if you're interested in buying a Kestrel, let me know, because that's how I'll decide how many I have to order. If you think I should manufacture these 5-inch frames, let me know. And if you're interested in what I'm doing, you can... I have Patreon. I don't know how to work Patreon, so nobody ever pays me on Patreon. That's fine. I'm not unhappy about that. You can like my video, subscribe to the channel, leave comments. The YouTube loves when you leave comments, and they enjoy it when you share my videos, I guess. So anything like that would help me out, because plenty of people read my blog, but nobody watches my YouTube channel. So, but I'm going to keep trying, because this is good practice. So I'm going to get going. You guys have a good day. And since we're talking about Bob Ruge's frames here, don't forget to floss. It's important. It's very important.